Raymond right there. Yes, does he have pictures? Everyone ready now?
Looks like it.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the Wednesday, January 27th, 2021 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. We have an agenda of continued business starting out. First, we're having an additional discussion of an enforcement order given to Dual State Investments of Littleton, Mass. The violation location was 25 Clifton Street, which I see has now been given an official number, I presume, of 19 Clifton Street after the subdivision of the lot. And this is an enforcement order for fill dumping and storage of construction materials within the 100-year floodplain. We just received an hour or so ago a plot plan that was provided by the proponent. And
Evening, Louisa. Ken Lania, Cornerstone. How are you? I apologize for the late delivery. I got to be honest with you. I forgot about you. So that is completely 100%. It's completely 100% my fault. And again, accept my apologies.
Right. Well, no problem. We're not facing imminent construction.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I thought we were gonna like schedule a like site meeting. So I think in my head I was telling myself, well, once I know when the meeting is, I'll send the plan in, and I don't think we ever really came up with a site visit time.
As far as I can see, the plan fit the description of the situation that you gave at the last meeting as far as the square footage of the fill area that seemed to be in question.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So that fill, I think we had almost given you permission to hand remove that fill from the 100-year floodplain, but that has not been done.
That's correct. Nope. So like I said, when I spoke with the applicant, I told him just to not touch anything because I wanted to ensure that you folks had the opportunity to have the site visit. And again, I didn't follow up on that, and I apologize. I'm hoping that some of you folks had the chance to go out there and see the kind of, I guess, extension of the dirt into the staked area, so that you could see it was very minimal, maybe an inch or two of dirt that just kind of just got spread over. Again, if you guys are comfortable, I did tell the applicant to keep an orange fencing up on the site. I actually haven't been by there in a couple of weeks since the last meeting, so I'm not sure if that's still erected or if the weather kind of beat that down. But ultimately, I think this was a minimal infraction, and if we can get that up, now, that's great. If we can't, I know it's something that we absolutely could just, rake up even in the spring, come the nicer weather, Madam Chair.
Well, I have to admit that the snow kind of snuck up on me. I was planning to go out before the meeting. Just before the meeting is what I like to do, and that didn't work out this afternoon for me, as far as being able to see what was going on out there. So I'm unclear whether the fence is up or down, as are you apparently, an orange fence. I would like to have some kind of demarcation remain up while while we're waiting for construction and also during construction. Is that something that's possible with the tight consideration of space out there on this lot?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Like I said, I know I staked it. I know when I spoke to the applicant, he was sending his employees over there to erect that orange construction fencing. I do believe it was completed. I actually haven't seen it up, but I do have a picture of it from the client that shows it was getting erected, um, or should I say, pretty much stapled to my stakes. So as far as that goes, the anticipation would be that that would stay in place until whatever construction is on the property is completed. In addition to that orange construction, kind of demarcation line, Madam Chair, we obviously would be installing, hay wattles or hay bales and silt fence on that line as well, prior to any construction that would take place so that we don't infringe any further on that
Well,
floodplain area.
that was my next question, whether the orange fence should actually be a silt fence type of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100%, because it is going to be rather close, Madam Chair, when the structure is erected. So instead of there being any question as to whether some material maybe made its way into that area, I would advise my client, and obviously, when we file an NOI, if necessary, that would be part of it, would be to install that, straw wattles or hay bale line directly on that 104 contour.
Okay, I hate to leave this, we've had a very good winter as far as being able to see what's going on the ground as far on some of these sites, but, is there a chance that if we don't do that now, that we'll have, a considerable erosion down into the 100-year floodplain? Or,
Not at all, Madam Chair. Like I said, I've been out there. It actually took us, the funny part about staking that line is the natural ground at the time when we were out there, I could hammer a stake into fairly easily. But it was a little frozen. But the fill, due to the fact that, Phil was probably had some, water still kind of inside of it, and that was frozen. So
oh, my,
uh, I had to take out a 4-foot bar and hit it with a sledgehammer to make enough space to get those stakes into the ground. So I don't believe that there's going to be any issue with erosion at all. And what I would say is if we end up having some warm Indian summer type like day, those usually don't creep up on you. Those are pretty knowledgeable that we could get out there and pull. Like I said, it's a very minimal amount, and it's probably enough that we could just rake up on the other side of that orange fencing, Madam Chair.
okay, thank you for that.
Mhm. And I did provide that plan, Madam Chair. And like I said, that plan shows the survey that I completed. And again, I guess in my opinion, the important part of that drawing, for me at least, is that the line that was established by um, Leo White and Ron Close during their FEMA review and acceptance with the letter of map amendment is the solid line that comes from the northern, let's call it northwestern corner down to the southern corner. And you can see the 104 contour that I mapped is actually inside the line that Leo and Ronnie had come up with. So I think they were pretty conservative in their original line. My line shows inside that 104 contour that I mapped shows inside that line. And if we actually were to compare my 104 contour with the dirt pile, it's literally less than 1 foot of an intrusion. So I'm fairly comfortable. I don't believe that there could be an event prior to us getting started out there for construction that this small amount run or on neighborhood.
Okay. Board members, concerns, comments, questions?
Your participant ID followed by pound.
Bill? Okay, we have,
I don't know if there's a
Yes.
problem with my
go
internet.
ahead, Bill.
Cut and dropped from the call. or the Zoom session twice. I don't have any comments, other than I'm just trying to clarify, Ken, were you planning to hold off on trying to do that removal of that thin veneer of soil until the ground thawed, like you said, like an Indian summer, or?
Yeah, a little bit, Bill. Like I said, when I went out there to stake it, Bill, I literally had to put a 4-foot bar in, and I kind of have like a, let's call it a 2-inch round disc on that bar, and I literally had to hit it with a sledgehammer in order to make it through the fill so
Yep.
that I could get the stake into the ground. So I just don't think that we could pull that up in its current frozen state. But like I said, if you know how we have kind of those January, February
Yeah, yeah.
thaws that, you get a couple of days in the 50s. I mean, we could easily go over there and just rake it up at that point. Absolutely.
That's fine. With that said, I mean, my take is, I'm willing to kind of give flexibility to the applicant to, when the weather conditions improve. But in the meantime, I would say we just keep the enforcement order open, and then when the work's done, then we can look to entertain a motion to rescind the order. That would be my recommendation. Thanks.
Anyone else from the commission? If not, Ms. Roy, did you want to make a comment?
The only comment I'll make is last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the rain. And the gentleman that bought the house that's abutting that property also, that they split the property apart, was all upset because he got so much water in his cellar. And it wasn't that much water that came down, and that backyard was soaking wet. So you keep telling me that, they moved the line because it's not really that bad, and we're talking about 100-year flood. Well, that yard is soaking wet all the time. So I'll just put it on there. Whoever they got to move that line, I hope it was worth it, because whoever uses it, if you build into that, it's going to sink. I've lived there long enough. I've seen it happen, and nobody can put anything on that property. That's why they got rid of it.
Do the abutting properties have sump pumps or have that problem as well?
Probably, yeah. We have it. Everybody in that area has to have it because there's so much water that comes in. And the minute the river starts to rise, it comes right through that yard, right out to Clifton Street.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's not going to take 100 years. I've been through enough of them, and I've only lived there I've only been there for 60 years.
Uh,
So
well,
not every 100.
we've seen that neighborhood flood as well over the years. The ones of us have been on the commission for a while. Thank you for your input.
No problem.
Bill, was that a motion you were proposing? We can't hear you.
I can make it into a motion. That was just my suggestion. So, if there aren't any other comments from the public, I would offer a motion to keep the enforcement order open until the work that's needed to be done to kind of remove that thin veneer fill is taken care of.
And what about constructing a fence there? So
Yeah, sorry about, and I would add, some sort of silt fence to kind of prevent any sort of sedimentation runoff or erosion or anything like that.
Okay. Second on that?
I'll second Bill's motion for the continuance.
Seconded by Kevin. Further comments from the commission? Okay, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lania. And I don't know whether are you going to be in charge of constructing that?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be involved with the owner applicant on the house siting on the lot and, whatever's necessary engineering wise to get that constructed, and obviously, filing a notice of intent with your board upon, the advent of knowing where that house is going to go. All right.
I would like to emphasize that we'd like, the subject of the motion to be taken care of way before the.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, the minute the weather breaks, Madam Chair, we'll get right out there. We don't want the enforcement order on the property anymore either. If I could get them out there, today to do it, it would. But again, like I said, it's frozen, so there's not going to be anything moving over there until we get some decent weather.
Okay, thank you
All
for,
right, great.
thank you for attending.
Absolutely. Have a great evening. Thanks, folks. Take care.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye now. Okay, next is a continuation of a notice of intent sent by Boston Gas. uh, DEP file number 206-0804. It's titled the Lowell Area Gas Modernization Project. And this has been discussed at least our last two meetings about replacing pipes along a route next to Route 3 and 495. And well, we've discussed it at length, but now the new information is we have had a site walk. And perhaps we could start with the commission reporting on the site walk. Would that be something you'd like to do in that order, or would you like to have the proponent discuss it first?
We can start with our review. That'd be fine.
Okay, Brad, thank you.
If I can give a quick synopsis. We were taken out by the several members of National Grid, their construction team, and their design team to oversee overview of a section of forested wetland area, which stretches from the National Amusements Park parking lot from Route 110 behind Alpine Butcher, and then behind several streets, West Albert being the first, and continuing over to a larger section of wetlands to the north. On that stretch, Route 3 runs along the west side, and the ends of the streets run on the east side of the existing National Grid pipeline path. There's about a 20-foot wide swath of land there where the pipeline is staked out, so you can see its path. We were told by National Grid that in that area we could expect a 3 to 5 foot cut on the east side, on the property side of that existing swath, and some 30 feet on the west side, 35 feet, which would make up the 75-foot swath of land that would be the temporary work area for this project. While we were out there, we were focusing mainly on trees of large caliper that would be coming down during the process of construction. And we pointed out several trees that we wanted to see staked on a plan. So as soon as I finish, we'll ask National Grid and their representatives to present the plan, which shows the trees located on the plan based on survey data taken in the field. Our concern was trying to figure out how to identify trees that could, trees of good size that could be worked around during the process of construction, and save some of the trees that, maybe were on the edge of the 75-foot area, or possibly could be, worked around even at the edge of the emergency drive aisle at the edge of the 75-foot swath. That was our main area of focus because it is the highest density of trees there. I think that's the synopsis. Anybody else got any comments about the site walk?
Bill?
Yeah, Brad, the only thing I'd say is, for context, there was, I think, 4 of us from the commission there, and I think the visit was on Friday, January 15th. And it was my first time out there, and, I guess I wasn't aware of how wide open the area already is. I'm not, certainly there's trees kind of within that 75-foot corridor, but I don't want to give a false impression that that entire area is wooded. When you go out there, you can see it is an open corridor, for that pipeline. And there's also right next to it in certain areas, an overhanging wire corridor as well. But yeah, I thought it was a good site visit, and we'll hear from the applicant. But I thought we collaborated pretty well. Trees we thought could be saved, or at least marked for discussion.
Sure. It was also easy to note the extent of invasive species that are out there as well. We were able to, cut our way through the thorns to get back to, the edge of that 75-foot area. Some 30, 35 feet out from the edge of the path. But there, it wasn't everywhere that we could get through. But again, they're mostly vines, largely invasive species that are the underbrush of this forested area.
Okay, Ms. Schutzman, would you like to give a report of what's occurred since our site visit?
Sure. After the site visit, we had a member of our consulting team, Mark, collect all the GPS points for the trees that were identified, including some trees that we further identified according to the criteria that was agreed upon with the commission. It's a bigger area, I think, than we assumed. It took quite some time, and it's getting late and dark, so we continued and found some additional trees that might be of interest and marked those, and then added them to our plan set. And what we had shared last time, we kind of cleaned it up a little bit so that it's more clear what we're looking at, which areas were planned for clearing, which areas are temporary workspace. And we color coded the trees after a discussion with our internal team as to what would work for the construction corridor and safe practices. And we came up with a kind of a street light system, a red, yellow, green. So green trees marked, the trees, I'm sorry, that are marked green, we identified as having good potential for being preserved. Yellow, not, are still questionable, and red, there's just not, it's not a possibility for the way that the workspace has to be set up. So the end result was that I think we found about 7 trees that are high potential for preservation, 7 trees that we can't possibly include, and 8 trees that we'd like to evaluate again once the survey crew has gone out and officially staked out our workspace, so we can see exactly where they fall and make that determination. So still a good amount of trees that we still have possibility of being preserved. And we submitted that along with a photo log that we took some photos, put them into a format. So we've showed you, a photo of each tree that was identified with the corresponding number on the mapping, for those members that couldn't attend, and also to jog our memories. And we submitted those to the commissioner, to Fran, I believe yesterday. And I hope that everyone got a chance to at least take a quick look at it, and we can certainly pull it up and review it now if that's preferable.
Probably good for the public, or
Yeah, I think it'd be great to take a quick look at that plan.
Okay, let me see if I can do that with my limited Zoom capabilities. I still can't use the video option on this.
Maybe, Corey, while you're doing that, I think one observation I made, and I'd be interested in others whether they agree. And I'm no arborist, but I would argue that or suggest that most of the trees out in that area, are not what we would call mature trees. There's a lot of trees that of smaller diameter. So clearly we were focused on the large diameter trees, and I'm glad that they did see some and that some will be saved. But I mean, I don't want the impression to be that the entire area is full of mature, large diameter trees, because that's not what I observed. And I think for the most part, what we saw in trees, in terms of the ones that we wanted to preserve, predominantly large caliper, oak trees.
right.
Can everybody see this now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at, we didn't renumber this because it's a part of that attachment B, so we just kind of pulled this out. And we're looking at this area at the, so that's page 7, it's right here. Kind of, I'm thinking at the northern, or I'm sorry, yeah, is that the northern end? You had said the cardinal directions before, and I wasn't sure. Oh no.
No, I think that is, yeah.
Is it?
There's
Okay.
a north arrow at the top left of your screen. It's pretty
Oh,
close
okay.
to north in this case, but the images do rotate as you continue down progression. The first page, however, is due north.
Right, I was just trying to figure out which streets these were, so we could orient ourselves as to where it was. And I'm apparently directionally challenged. So Shona, if you want to jump in and correct me, do you know which streets these are?
I think
I can
that's
tell
West
if it was-
Forest.
West Forest. Yep.
That's West
Yep.
Forest.
That continues
Okay.
around up the street.
Yeah.
And Upham Street. This is Upham Street.
No, that's the one that the one house on. the
This
other
one
side,
is.
right?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to start all the way at the bottom because that makes the most sense to me. Sorry, because this is how we started our site walk, right? We went all the way down to the Alpine Butcher area, and we identified this large silver maple, I believe it was, for preservation, and that's still got a green light go. And then we kind of continued up, and you can see that a lot of these, while they do fall within the temporary workspace, we did say that there's a potential for them to be preserved. So quite a few trees in this area, if you guys remember them. And then Kellen or Shona, if you want to give more information about the trees, I can't have two things open at once. I can say which species they were. I'm not sure if that's relevant now.
As far as I recall, they're predominantly red oaks.
Red oaks,
some-
okay.
Yeah, red oaks, and some were red maple, but the ones that were the larger diameter were red oaks.
So these are a possibility for being preserved. These ones on the outer edge have a higher potential of being preserved. There's a good chance that we will be able to save those. We're marking those as green for now. And then we can see number 10 falls directly into the permanent workspace right of way, so that won't be a possibility. I'm just going to scroll through these, and anyone who wants to jump in, please do. If you have any questions, or if anyone from my team has more information they'd like to share, please interrupt me. So you can kind of see this is where we left off. It connects over here. So we're moving along Route 3. Here is number 10. And then here's 11. We said that was a good one to keep. And then there's quite a bunch over here that unfortunately fall in a difficult place to preserve.
If I can jump in, one other note about the walk, we did find a row of flags out at the edge of the temporary work zone. So that would, it was fairly easy for us to distinguish the limit of cutting out in the field. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, so we're continuing in this direction, northeast-ish, I guess.
I'll note about
West-ish.
the sorry to interrupt, Corey, but
Nope, go ahead.
15, 16, 17, there's a clump that's kind of on that corner altogether. That's actually it was two single trees that are multi-stemmed. It was a single kind of base with several different, I think 13, 14, 15 was one, and 16, 17 is kind of two single entities.
Okay, so we according to the diameter at breast height kind of criteria, we marked them as separate trees, but they're kind of one tree. That's the gist?
Yeah.
So along that line, I wasn't able to be at the site walk, but the photographs that you sent in are very good as far as seeing the actual tree that you're talking about, 14, 15, 17. And I did note that a number of them are multiple trunk trees, and I wondered if they had perhaps been some that were cut down when the glass line was first installed and sprouted from stumps that were left behind. That sometimes, is a weakness for a tree to have multiple stumps. It opens it up for some rot sometimes, or some weaknesses.
Right, and there's the heavy trunk leaning in one direction that kind of stresses out the whole tree. In a landscape setting, we would take those off most likely. Even in vegetation maintenance, we probably trim those off for safety.
They probably are functioning well as far as everything else, wildlife habitat and, moisture in the soil and things like that. But I'm not sure of their longevity when you have that situation.
Right, that's a good point. Any more comments or questions about this page, or should I move up?
I don't know if anyone has discussed, I know in your report, you're expecting natural regeneration. Has anyone discussed perhaps replacing some of the large ones that are right in the way and have no chance to be retained? I guess not.
I'm sorry, I can't, I can only see what I'm sharing now. Is that a question for us or a question for the commission?
Well, I just wondered if the discussion had taken place, that if there turn out to be perhaps 10 large trees that are being taken down, if 10 replacement trees might be something that would be discussed. Not replacing every small tree along the whole route, but perhaps replacing trees along the edge of the cut line here. I know it's late in the game to propose anything like that, but I just wondered if that was something that you did, was replacement of trees when you have a project such as this.
It wasn't discussed yet, but I think that we're open to a discussion of selective replacement in that case. Trees like 17 or 10 couldn't be replaced because they're direct. We can't have trees with roots that are near the pipeline. But and then in another area, potentially yes, I would think that we could discuss that further.
Just thinking of that as far as restoring wildlife habitat, having a number of trees, especially if they're clustered in a certain area, might be beneficial.
Right.
Go on with your presentation if you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just it's something that we can definitely consider. I appreciate that you agree that we can't replace every small tree, and replacing some of these even these large diameter trees, they'd be replaced with saplings. So there's something to say for natural regeneration. Planting saplings doesn't always outpace anything, and nothing is a guarantee, I suppose. But the largest trees that we would replace them with, that we would know would be successful, or we would imagine would be successful, the kinds that we would use, I think are like, and Jason from our forestry department is on, so he can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they are, oh, why am I blanking on this? Is it 8-inch caliber?
I think that would be on the high side even, yeah.
Yeah, that might be on the high side. So maybe 4 to 6.
Yeah, Louisa, my take on it, looking at the overall tree canopy and the footprint of it, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't see a lot of big diameter trees. They're more of a smaller diameter, kind of like that second generation growth, so to speak. And my thinking is, it's kind of like what Corey was saying, is, if we can't save 8 large diameter trees, to put in replacement trees, they're not going to be the large, 2-foot diameter, trees that were taken out. They would be in line with kind of what's already going to be remaining behind. So I'm not sure what it would really make a difference in the overall canopy, in the short term.
Right. In the short term, it might not be as beneficial, but it's certainly something that we can discuss if that's a point that the commission would like to further discuss. We can just finish going through these trees and then maybe get to some discussion of that in a couple of minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can stop sharing and see you guys again. Okay, so continuing, north-ish along Route 3 here, we get to kind of the edge of this wetland, and we're in some buffer zone area. And we found these trees in 18, 19, 22 to be salvageable and within the criteria. They're not directly within wetlands, but we can certainly make sure that they are preserved. Whereas 20 was a little bit more, it will require probably a second review in the field. And then I think this is the last segment here where we're up by West Forest Street. And I think, I don't remember, doing Genis? I'm not sure the streets anymore. We've got number 22 out here that looked like it had good potential. And then 20, these numbers. Oh, so there's an overlap there. So 22 was shown on the last one, I'm sorry. And then so this one was numbered 21 and labeled with that moderate potential that we'll have to review again once we've got the survey staked out and we can confirm the work area for sure. And that was the extent of it. And then I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to look at it. Number one was something that we had discussed, in the beginning, that that large silver maple was good to.
Is that in the parking lot of the retail store there?
It's right on the edge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what we don't know, and the being winter didn't help too much, was exactly, you said there were some oaks, there are probably some maples. We don't know exactly what kind of trees we had, from what I understand. I would, if there were any replacement trees proposed, I would like to see something that has some wildlife value other than, I'm sure most trees do. But.
So one of the things that, I'm sorry to jump in, but one of the things that we have proposed as part of our mitigation plan is the creation of some snag trees, which provides for that kind of lost habitat. A snag tree is essentially when you take a living tree and kind of cut the top off of it, and it becomes a standing dead tree that then is habitat to woodpeckers and small mammals. That's kind of one of them. The brush piles as well, where we can put brush piles to the side of just side of the right of way as it's regenerating. That's something else that provides kind of habitat for rabbits and smaller creatures while the forest is growing again.
I actually like that idea. It's not like it's a park out there, and having some hiding places is something that's going to be needed after it's cleared.
Yeah, the red maples, most of the wetland trees in this area are red maples, and they regenerate pretty fast. I think it's like 2 to 3 feet a year is the standard or typical kind of observed from at least what some of the research that we did into it. So the kind of the snag trees, the brush piles. There's a couple of other habitat features that we pose really will fill that gap between when you've got the cleared area and when the forest really does kind of grow back up again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got our questions answered about what was actually out there and what could be saved. I think we have a number of people from the public here. If the commission is all set for now as far as comments. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment or ask a question at this point?
Yes.
Go ahead. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Soren Dubon. I live in the area.
Excuse me. Could you just say your address?
12 7th Street.
And what was your name again?
Soren Dubon.
Could you spell that?
SORENDUBON.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot that I didn't have my name as my screen name on this computer. I was going to ask about the diversion of the river and whether that was involved with this. And if so, how so?
I'm sorry, diversion of the river?
Yeah,
Is that River Meadow Brook?
I
that,
believe so.
Goes past the Cross Point Tower?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not particularly well informed about this. I just saw something online about it, which is why I'm here.
Okay. Do you have, can you explain that, Ms. Schultzman?
Sure. One of us can certainly, if I don't do a great job. I'm not sure I would phrase it as a diversion of the river. We are cutting under the river to put the pipeline in, and during that time, we will be.
Yeah, Neil.
I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, Shona, if you have a better description of this, please go ahead. I'm kind of stumbling here.
So to get through the river where the pipeline crosses, it's an open cut. So instead of having the river flowing through the work area, we put up temporary diversion dams, either a coffer dam or kind of an inflatable or sandbag dam. You put a pump, a very large, well-sized pump on one side of the coffer dams, and the water is pumped around through hoses right in the work site to the other side of the work site. There's kind of dams to isolate the work site between the upstream and downstream, and a pump that's pumping the river through hoses or pipes around the coffer dams. That's probably, I think, a week or two it's going to take for that crossing, maybe about 3 weeks or so from full setup to take down a demobilization of all the equipment in that area.
Okay, and will the river be essentially put back where it was?
Yes. Yep. And there's measures so that we don't just kind of pull the coffer dams up and let the river flow again. You're protecting the downstream flow either through kind of a blankets or swales so that there's no scour coming out of the ends of the hoses as the river is diverted around. You kind of slowly take the volume of water that's being pumped through the pumps so that as you're pulling up the coffer dams, the water is slowly coming through the work area, so it's not scouring anything. There's a lot of different measures to make sure that the water goes right back where it is. The stream bed is restored to substantially to what the existing conditions were, and there's no erosion from the work that's been done.
Okay then. Suppose that answers my question.
All right. How long would the river be displaced? I think you said that, but I missed it.
My understanding it's about it's a 3-week process to get everything to set up, to get the dams in, but the actual diversion of the stream where you'd have the dams in the stream bed and the water pumping around is about a week and a half or so.
Okay. Thank you. Someone else have a comment or a question? Anyone from the public?
John Grossman's got his hand up.
Yes, John?
Yeah, could you give us the numbers? How many
Excuse me,
red?
could you just state your address?
Sure, my name is Jonathan Grossman. I live at 83 Barnum Ave. And the numbers of the trees that are red, the number that were marked red, the numbers marked yellow, and the numbers marked green, how many of each? And sort of roughly what percentage of that would be?
Sure. I think we came up with about 7 that were 7 that were green, 7 that were yellow, and 8 that were red. So it's about evenly dispersed from that number. But the 7 that are yellow, we're going to evaluate again, and I imagine that number will, some of those will turn green, and some of them will turn red.
And just, so those are that's not, 7 plus 8 is not all the trees that were there. Those were just all of the largest ones. Is that correct?
Correct. The commission indicated that they were looking at trees that were, I think it was 16 inches in diameter and larger as being significant for habitat value and other reasons. And and as Bill had explained before, the rest of it's kind of an even-aged stand of younger trees. So those ones really stuck out in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Yes, Carolyn, would you give your name and address, please?
Caroline Snow, 2060 Farmland Road. So my question is, when you divert the river and you're putting in this new pipe, is the pipe that's there, that's existing, is that a different dimension than what's going to be put in? Like I'm very lost as to what the process is and why there needs to be a new pipe. Like,
Okay,
Sure. The project is installing this entire 2-mile section of pipe to make it all one diameter of pipe. So the existing pipe now is several different sizes, all connected together, which makes it difficult to get a really good inspection data on it. So this is a project to improve the safety and reliability of the line by making it one consistent diameter that we will be able to internally inspect it appropriately per the new federal regulations that are coming out in that for gas pipeline inspections. So what's there now, I believe, and somebody jump in if I'm wrong, is 6 and 8 and 10, and we are putting in a consistent 12-inch pipeline. Is that correct?
thank
I've been on
you.
this project for a long time. You'd think I would know.
Did that answer your question, Carolyn?
it answered part of it. So I get that there's new regulations and all of those things, but considering that you're going to a larger pipe for consistency, is there a way that you could go to, 6 or 8 or 10? Like why is there a reach to 12, thus making you have to reinstall a larger section of pipe? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand the question.
Corey,
the-
I can chime
Yeah,
in.
thank you,
just
Matt.
to
Jump in. I know
provide a
it's
little
because of the tool that we're using, but I think Matt has a better answer.
So good evening. My name is Matt Hayward with National Grid. So to answer your question, so we looked at a couple different sizing for this inspection tool that we are trying to use. And what we determined was that, as you get smaller and smaller in pipe diameter, so if you get down into that 8-inch or 6-inch, you have to elongate the tool to get more of the instruments you need for that inspection to be inside that one tool. So as you elongate it, it also makes it more difficult to get around curves and bends and to kind of be able to, to propel it and drive itself through the pipeline. So we decided the 12-inch was the best in terms of being able to get all of the tools and instruments onto that inspection peg or inspection tool to meet the needs, so we can get the most amount of information from the pipeline to make sure that we can react and and to maintain integrity.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment or a question for the team here?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Introduce yourself, please. Stephen?
yes, Stephen Malagodi. I live at 200 Market Street in downtown Lowell. And I don't have a question. I do have a statement that will take about 3 minutes, if that's okay. But first, I just wanted to say that I also did a walkthrough of that track, the same route that was talked about earlier, and my impressions of that site are completely different than what has been expressed here. There are a large number of large mature trees that will be taken out unnecessarily. To say that there's no cover is certainly was not my impression of that site. Also, the idea of that a snag tree is a replacement for a living habitat. It just doesn't hold up. Yes, woodpeckers like them. Yes, osprey like them. Insects like them. But that's it. A snag tree is not a replacement for a living system. on the damming issue of a river meadow brook, you can put pumps and bypass the water through pipes for a week and a half, but the only thing that gets through is water. Fish, frogs, turtles, anything else cannot navigate through those pumps. So that means for as long as those pumps are in place, all the creatures that live downstream from there are denied their sustenance for a week and a half, 2 weeks, however long it takes. They don't have that kind of time. So when you do that, you're endangering every aquatic creature that lives downstream from that. So that's a bit disingenuous to suggest that there's pumps and we pump the water through. The water goes through, nothing else does. So having said that, I just want to give a little backstory, and my comment here is going to be a little unusual, so I hope you'll bear with me. I moved to Lowell about 5 years ago from South Florida. A few years ago, we had a little incident down there that you might have heard about called the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill. As part of the settlement with the corporations that were responsible for that disaster, a specialist in victim compensation was called in, Mr. Kenneth Feinberg. He's become quite famous. He was called in to assess the damages to the environment in monetary values. He was the same person who put a value on human lives lost in the 9/11 bombing and numerous other tragedies. In the BP case, in addition to valuing the lost human lives, Feinberg was also tasked with valuing non-human lives, which is even more difficult because there's no economic basis to form that judgment. Nevertheless, he would assign a dollar value to a pelican, a dolphin, an oyster, etc., and he would multiply that figure by the number of creatures thought to have been injured and or killed, and from that he would compute the damages. A documentary film was made about him. It was called Playing God. Now, on this tract of land that we're talking about here, if there had been some evidence of Native American habitation, it could be rightly claimed by someone of that heritage that this was sacred ground. And I seriously doubt that this project would go through. But we, and I'm making certain assumptions here, are not in our traditions animists. We do not worship natural beings as divinities per se, but that does not mean that our traditions do not recognize the sacredness of natural beings. To the contrary. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside of our Father's notice. 10th chapter of Matthew. Let all the trees in the forest sing for joy before the Lord. Psalm 96 of the Hebrew Scriptures. Praise be to you, my Lord, through our sister earth and our mother who sustains and governs us, the ever popular St. Francis of Assisi. But the most remarkable statement that I've ever heard on this matter is from Thomas Merton. Hopefully some of you have heard of Thomas Merton. He was known as Father Lewis in his Kentucky monastery. Merton was arguably the most important Christian writer of the 20th century. In an essay in his book, The Behavior of Titans, Merton wrote, "Every plant that stands in the light of the sun is a saint and an outlaw. Every tree that brings forth blossoms without the command of man is powerful in the sight of God. Every star that man has not counted is a world of sanity and perfection. Every blade of grass is an angel singing in a shower of glory." Now, neither Thomas Merton or I are some kind of religious fanatics, some kind of nuts. I understand that probably no one has ever asked this commission to deny a permit based on spiritual principles, but that is exactly what I'm asking you to do. Barring that, then I suggest that you do what has been done before in matters of victim compensation, which is what this is. If these old trees are killed for profit, if this brook is defiled for pointless greed, hire someone like Mr. Feinberg to assess the monetary value of each and every tree. of each reed, of each bird and creature starved or displaced by this project, and let him or her try to assess the value according to both their physical and spiritual worth, such as is possible, and let National Grid be responsible in terms that they understand, monetary, for the damage that they will cause. But far better for all concerned would be to reject this unneeded and unnecessary proposal and avoid all the killing in the first place. Reject this proposal, let National Grid appeal to whatever state agency they appeal to. Let's see what happens. You should reject this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to offer comment?
Just want to say that I think that that was a reasonable statement, if a bit long-winded.
Okay, we have many reports that have been submitted to us over the past months.
There's still a couple of people with their hands up.
I don't see them.
Yeah, so I think the next one is Neil.
Neil? Okay, I can't see hands on my screen.
I'll walk through the hands. If anybody else has something to add, that's how we will find you. We'll start with Neil. We'll move on to Marissa.
All right, thanks. I
work
will
our way through.
do my best to be brief, but I've done a lot of studying of this.
Excuse me, Neil, what's your address?
I'm 81 North Road. I'm part of 350 Lowell.
Thank you.
I did a careful reading of the 2017 permitting request from Boston Gas for the current project. And when you read it carefully, they're a lot more clear about what their intentions are in this project. They are intending to basically quadruple the size of this pipeline, and they want to do it because they want to meet customer demand up through 2040. That's kind of how they put it. They do talk about the ease of inline inspection, but I think that another way to put this is that if these engineers were tasked to use an inline inspection tool in the current line, they could do so. If they have a problem with their pig being too long, they could put two pigs in with different instruments. I don't think it's a real issue. So and if that didn't work, they could use the inspection methods they've already had. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. It's important to realize, I think, for this commission, that what you're doing is weighing extensive disruption of wetlands against a wish to expand a gas pipe. Now, there's a bunch of government policies that I know that they're outside the purview of this commission, but there are several very new policies that have all been enacted since National Grid went through the permitting process for this, frankly, unnecessary pipeline. And you are the last resort. First of all, the Department of Public Utilities in late October opened an investigation and asked at the behest of the Attorney General, and they have to assess all the gas distribution systems to show how they're going to become carbon neutral by 2050. Expanding a pipeline right now is exactly the wrong direction. Secondly, the state, and at the end, just in last month, they came out with a commission decarbonization roadmap, which says that there is no future for natural gas for heating in the future. Not only that, but electric heat pumps are expected to replace gas heating because even if they're not subsidized, because they're cheap. And the third thing is that the state has passed, and probably will pass tomorrow, the climate roadmap legislation, which again commits to strict guidelines to bringing carbon neutrality by 2050. It'll require a move away from gas heating by all utility companies, including National Grid. So this project no longer makes sense environmentally, legally, or even economically. Now, I know it's easy to think that this is a futile thing to deny this process, deny this permit. I'm sure it seems like, well, we'll just get countermanded on a higher level if we do it. But it does make sense. It would be a very brave thing to do, but it's neither futile nor foolhardy. If the commission denies this permit, it would not only be fulfilling its mission to protect the wetlands of Lowell, but it also will be giving higher regulatory authorities in the state a few months to reconsider the place of this unnecessary project in the state's new roadmap goals a no vote would be in the direction that Massachusetts has now decided to move. You would also be doing your part to avoid climate catastrophes that have already begun. Thank you.
Move on to, to Marissa next.
Hi, Marissa DuPont, 208 Mammoth Road in Lowell. I just want to echo what Neil said. I agree that this is something that is going to very soon be outdated, and it seems like a lot of disruption for little gain, especially for the citizens of Lowell. You know, like what everyone else has been saying. I mean, if we're working towards 100% renewable energy by 2035, I mean, this is not the way to do it. And there are methods to check the pipe as it exists right now. It doesn't make any sense to go through this much destruction of the wetlands, in addition to the amount of the cost and all of that. It just doesn't make sense. I encourage you all to vote no on this. Thank you.
That's all the hands that we see raised. Unless there's any other comments from the public.
Thank you, Brad. Bill, did you have?
I was going to say, Louisa, if this feels like it might be the time to ask once and for all if there are any further comments from the public. Otherwise, close the public hearing and move on to voting on the merits of the project as a commission.
Are there any further comments from either the public or the commission? Hearing none, we could have a vote to close the public hearing, Bill.
So I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Kevin Dillon. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3, 4, unanimously in favor, none opposed. Thank you. We now are charged with deciding if we can issue an order of conditions on this project, or if the project is not able to be conditioned, we will vote to deny. Bill?
So I'll offer a motion to issue us approval of this project with a standard City of Lowell order of conditions, with a special condition to implement the tree plan that was discussed tonight to save as many trees as possible. And I don't think there were any other special conditions, but I'm open to suggestions from others on the commission if there's other special conditions they'd like to offer.
At the very least, I think we should request a financial contribution for this project of trees that can't be replaced in this area particularly, but certainly will be cut down and habitat. That habitat value, I believe it was Stephen that spoke of, that cannot be accounted for without, the assistance of the hand of God. Would it be reasonable for us to ask for a compensation package for wildlife restoration, or? Sure.
So I think one thing before going there, Luis, maybe we could ask the applicant to kind of reiterate. My understanding is that there is under the under Army Corps permit, they're obligated to provide funding to kind of as an offset for the loss of habitat. Are you suggesting above and beyond that, Brad? I mean, I'm open.
I am.
Okay.
I was looking for city level funding. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's higher than the city's purview, but I would be looking for a contribution toward DPW, Parks Department, something like that. They could be used to plant additional trees elsewhere in the city to make up for the losses here.
Okay, could I have a second on that motion before we have any further discussion on it? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Perry. Okay, so the motion is to issue a standard order with the special condition of the tree plan being implemented. Brad, is that a substitute motion or an amendment to the motion? To,
Um, I'm not sure I feel comfortable amending Bill's motion on my own accord.
well,
Uh,
we vote
I-
on the amendment first and then on the regular motion. So you can have your own motion tacked on and then we'll,
Okay. Sure. Then I'd like to add a additional special condition for $100,000 contribution to the city for additional trees to be planted outside of the borders of this project. Is that something that the applicant would be willing to even consider?
okay, do we have a second on the amendment before we have discussion of it?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Weston. Discussion of the amended motion to have $100,000 contribution made to the city to plant trees in the disturbed area. Would that be would it be more efficient for the applicant to trees, or as the construction is continuing? I'm not sure the city has the staff for a project like that. Anybody?
With all due respect, $100,000 is far more than 15 trees are valued at in this context. I mean, if you can show us how that money is being put towards a mitigation project, that would be that's seemingly an unreasonable amount, I would say.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous for you to say that 8 trees is what we're trying to account for here. The small trees, which we could never, fit on a plan, all have value.
Again, this is all temporary impacts that are all going to regrow, and
There's
we've
no such
committed
thing as
to
a
plan
temporary
that
impact.
shows reforestation. So planting,
Disagree with you entirely.
then show me some kind of criteria that shows that $100,000 is what this is worth. It's ratepayer money that we have to justify to regulators. It's not a gift. I'm sorry, my dog's doing trip barking.
Corey, could maybe to put it in context, I for one feel like that amount is excessive. That being said, what are you currently committed to providing to the Army Corps mitigation fund for this project? I'm just trying to get a sense of scale.
We don't have a firm. They haven't calculated it for us yet and confirmed it, but what we were calculating was $275,000, and that's for the entire project.
Okay.
And that's for they have a rate for using matting, they have a rate for temporary impacts, and that's what we're paying that for. And it goes towards a watershed level plan that arguably benefits, Lowell as well.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said at the last meeting. I don't want perfection to be the enemy of the good here. I think you follow the process, or the applicants follow the process of avoid, minimize, and mitigate impacts to the resources. I think we can have debates about, the level of mitigation, the level of impacts. At the end of the day, I'm viewing this as a product of, what we're obligated to do is make sure that the resource is protected and sustained, for the long term. And while there may be individual trees lost, what I don't see this project is doing is causing an ecosystem collapse. And so, so long as the applicant can demonstrate, and I think they have, that the sustenance of the ecosystem, not the individual trees or species, is maintained, which they will do through their operation and maintenance plan that they've committed to providing to us, and we will monitor. I'm willing to entertain some level of mitigation to the city above and beyond what you came into the Army Corps, but I would agree that $100,000 to me seems excessive given the overall scope of the project.
Okay,
Could you possibly identify a project? We have relationships with the Highland community. I know they're always looking for support, and we're willing to work with them to actually identify a project that we can support. So we can, the money, first of all, goes towards a mitigation project and not just a check to the city. And then, we also we have some criteria. We have a project that we can, present and say, this is what we're doing. I don't think that we will get approval for $100,000, blank check to the city. It's not supported in anything. It's never been requested. And to be fair, I don't think that there's a mechanism in the Wetlands Protection Act that says that this has to be done.
So to be clear, I would not, let's put it this way. If there was a vote on 100,000, I would not support $100,000. I agree with what you're saying, but I do appreciate what some of my colleagues on the commission are suggesting. So I think what I would suggest is there an existing project in the city of Lowell that some sort of contribution from National Grid would provide an environmental benefit, versus kind of coming up with some arbitrary dollar amount with no specific objective in mind?
Okay, so the first, I appreciate your attempt at moving this along in a timely manner, but the mindset that you have of that one construction project won't cause an environmental collapse is exactly the reason why there are so many people logged onto this Zoom meeting today. This issue is just another drop in the bucket of small damages to the ecosystem, which will eventually bring us to the point of no return. And if
they're using the argument of tragedy of the commons.
How else can you discuss the climate and environment? There is not enough money in the world to make up for the harm that has been caused by the distribution of natural gas and other fuel products.
I just caution all of us.
I hear what you're saying. I don't even know. I agree that I don't know the right way to go about putting a dollar value benefit above and beyond what's already been proposed. I don't have a specific project in mind. I would love to take a week to get a list of projects. I can come up. I'm sure everyone in this room has a project that is near and dear to their heart that could use a couple extra trees. Everybody's got a park within a quarter mile of their house in this city. Where
we can take some time, that can be a condition that we come back to you. We discuss a project and we come back to you and present on that. And we can't close out this permit until we have that. That's reasonable. That happens on projects all the time. We need to stay within the bounds of the Wetlands Protection Act here and the mechanisms therein. And we provided restoration and we've met all of the standards. So, with that in mind, and that it's temporary impacts that we are committed to seeing restored. I can't see that this tragedy of the commons, I've never seen that as a mechanism for asking for $100,000 under the Wetlands Protection Act. We are happy to focus on projects that have ecosystem function. We're happy to, I think we've shown we're committed to working with the city on restoring this. We're offering a project, we're offering, a donation to a tree planting project or something else. We have lots of skill sets that can be used to the benefit to meet some of what you've said are obligations on the city's sustainability plan. But that number is arbitrary and unreasonable, frankly. And
what's a reasonable number?
That meets the Wetlands Protection Act standards and isn't just because we don't like the project.
Brad, could you somehow craft, going along with what Corey has just suggested, could you somehow craft a motion to include with Bill's order, not a motion, an order, or a condition? Sorry, I'm getting it. Could we make this, donation into a condition that perhaps can be added to Bill's already suggested order of conditions, rather than have it be something that we can't all get behind? And
Well,
I'm
I-
thinking
so-
perhaps removing the dollar amount and maybe being able to work with that a little later. But while I am talking, I must say that I was taken with the remarks of the public on this particular issue. I don't want them to think that we haven't considered what they said, and I thought the remarks were very well thought out, and I'm, I'm very close to agreeing with some of them. And I don't want that to go unsaid, and I would hope that the public would keep an eye on future projects, no matter which way this goes tonight. Keep an eye on future projects and weigh in on things that are happening in the city. There's many nights that we sit here alone and no one provides any comments on numerous projects that are important as well.
So I guess,
piggyback on that. Hold on, I'm sorry, Brad.
go ahead, no, go ahead.
Just to like kind of focus. Can you guys inspect the entirety of the pipeline to the new federal standards in its current state?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Weston, I didn't hear that.
Can National Grid inspect the entirety of this pipeline to the federal standards, the new ones that we're trying to get to, in its current state?
No,
It can't. Okay.
no, we cannot use the inline inspection gauge to in the current application,
you
the
can't
current.
use that tool, but can you inspect the lines with a different tool or means?
The federal government
Cannot
certainly
use
isn't.
inline inspection to inspect the line right now, the way it is.
The federal government isn't insisting that all existing delivery systems must be replaced. This is not what this is about.
I mean,
his question
That
was,
the need for the project. I feel like that was, that was something we agreed upon last time.
we
I'm
didn't
not-
agree on that. Somebody
I'm
said
going
it.
to go back and dig this all up again. I really like to focus on the Wetlands Protection Act impacts and how we can agree on a mitigation project that would satisfy everyone.
it's sounding, I mean, our citizens have some very strong opinions. It's sounding like this almost should be kicked to a state level.
In order for that to happen, we need to put it to a vote. So,
So before we do that, so I think what I'm hearing Louisa suggest, and I guess I'd like to know whether or not we as a commissioner support it or not. I mean, to put it in the context of what I'm familiar with, what I'm hearing, what's being suggested is a supplemental environmental project. Oftentimes when there's a violation of some environmental statute, the responsible party may, above and beyond mitigate in that infraction is required to put in a supplemental environmental project. One that comes to mind is like, for example, you have air quality emissions from a factory and they're exceeding Clean Air Act requirements, then maybe you provide local school buses with retrofits on the exhaust systems. It's not part of the infraction, but it all provides an overall environmental benefit. So what I think Luis's suggestion I'd be open to is it would be a second condition, special condition above and beyond the City of Lowell's standard order conditions, which would be in addition to the implementation of the tree planting plan, a secondary condition for a supplemental environmental project in the City of Lowell, scale and scope to be determined, at a later date, but the permit wouldn't be closed out until that project is agreed upon and implemented. Is that what you're suggesting, Louisa?
I just think we should get it all together so there's no questions about, how is this going to go later. I think it's reasonable to discuss this. We're not equipped, as Brad says, we can't just come up with a project, on the spur of the moment here. I think it's a good thing to discuss. I think perhaps we should make clear that, we're not talking about a swing set in a park. We'd want something a little more complex than that. But perhaps, the money amount that was mentioned is is a little high, maybe for the amount of people affected by this on the long term. I know it's going to be disruptive short term, and I also might wish that it weren't going to happen at all. So I think it's up to Brad at this point to decide if he wants to, to let his motion stand on its own, or if he would like to join in with and make it part of the other set of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to check with the city to see how, this request even moves forward. I like the verbiage that Bill provided. I appreciate the assist. Thank you. We've got no shortage of upcoming and high visibility city projects that can use some extra trees along its length, like river walks. There's plenty of projects that we can come up with, given a little bit of time. So, if Bill will take that as his full motion, I'll stick with the words that he presented.
Would it be helpful for me to restate it?
I think that'd be good, Bill.
All right, so hearing the feedback from others on the commission, I would offer a motion to issue a City of Lowell standard order of conditions with two special conditions. One being implementation of the tree planting survey planting plan presented tonight. And two, implementation of a supplemental environmental project in the City of Lowell, specifics to be determined at a later date. Because I don't think we can kind of decide on that right now. And with that, I would say, if we can't decide on, if we don't land on a comfort zone of what that is, I would say we continue tonight's meeting to the next meeting. We've closed the public hearing, and we're really honing in on, what the specificity is of that secondary special condition.
Thank you, Bill. We have the motion now. I think we essentially started over. Do we still have a second on that? A second on Bill's motion?
I'll second it.
Kevin, who was that, Perry or Kevin?
Perry.
Perry, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded, and now we're ready for more comments or discussion. Is there any more discussion to be had here?
I think if we have any chance at finding a suitable project and making sure that we actually, as a commission, as representatives of the city, are comfortable with the value of this addition to the project, then it needs to be decided before the vote.
I agree with Brad on that.
And I can appreciate that. Corey, it might be helpful, for National Grid to kind of maybe between now and the next meeting to kind of hone in on the specifics. I agree that 100,000 is excessive. Maybe one way to approach it is look at the value of the trees that are going to be lost and can't be replicated, and maybe come up with kind of a monetary value that we could look at in terms of applying to a specific supplemental project in the City of Lowell that would kind of meet the same goals of restoration in the area that's going to be disturbed.
A simple way to do that may be to just take the percentage of the area that falls in Lowell and, multiply the Army Corps number by that percentage.
Okay, if we're talking about continuing, not voting tonight, although I guess the public hearing is closed, so I'm not really sure how this works now. I'd like we can come up with a few options and come back to you at the next meeting and with some proposals from our end, based on some I guess on some criteria and maybe some evaluation of other of projects that we know are important to the city.
Yeah, I mean, we can come up with a list of locations for you to spend your resources as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the end game, Corey, at least from my perspective, I'd like us to come to the next meeting with basically a vote on kind of what I put forward as a motion, but we're not going to vote on it tonight, but continue because of the ambiguity with what we're calling a supplemental environmental project in the city of Lowell. Does that make sense?
So you need to have something that you can all agree on, an actual like hard and fast specifics by in 2 weeks. I'm not sure that we'll.
I would say, well, maybe not specifics, but concrete parameters or boundary conditions so that it's not so ambiguous. I feel my sense is, and I don't want to speak for others, but my sense is, you know, it's too amorphous. We don't have anything to really kind of, you know, hone in on. So let's come up with some parameters as to what that is, you know, by the next meeting. And my sense is if we come up with enough parameters that we can agree with, then maybe we can kind of vote on the notice of intent with the order of conditions and those 2 special conditions and move ahead.
Okay. I mean, we'll come up with some solutions by then and have them to provide, and just, you know, fair warning, it may be something that we still need to continue working on, but we're now, I mean, I think we've started the clock, so we have to come up with something and come to a vote.
Others feel free to chime in. That's just my kind of summation of where I think we landed tonight.
Yeah. So I mean, I would envision if you can pick one area of the city that is high visibility and always looking at, you know, the need for additional environmental resource. Picture a canalway, right? A grass sloped embankment with a, you know, walking path where trees and bushes can be added. Let us know how much you can contribute to the currently grassed areas of a canalway, and we'll find a great location for that.
Okay, we will come up with some ideas to talk about at the next meeting then.
Thank you.
And I think the commission can also be looking for some ideas as well. I don't want to take away anything that maybe was promised to this site area itself, as far as perhaps planting a few trees, replacement trees out there. However, at least I would not like to see that. You know, it is an important area, wetland-wise. So
No, of course, we still have our plan for restoration in that area still remains the same, and we understand that we're still trying to preserve as many trees as possible there. Just a quick question. Now that the public hearing is closed, if you guys do come up with ideas, like you've got you know, you drive by and you find a spot and you think it would be a great spot, and we can go out and take a look and measure and see some things there, evaluate a restoration project, can you let us know? If you come up with any great ideas in the interim that, you know, you think we can work off of, that would be helpful too, because you know your city and your needs better than we ever will.
Okay, that's a great challenge.
We'll definitely work on coming up with things, but I would love to actually apply it to something that you see the need for, so that we, you know, everyone is getting what they want.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment. Ideally, I would love for that to happen. I would hope that if Fran knows, she can tell us what her thoughts about that, and certainly, you know, either way, we can have an answer for you, you know, from the city's longer time standing, you know, overseers of our board to advise us on how we can communicate properly about this.
I mean, what I would hope is that for the next meeting, you know, we can come back and you know, basically say these were the 3 or 4 ideas that were evaluated. This is where the commission, you know, have those presented, and then this is where the commission landed on, and then vote on it, so that we can kind of get this project behind us.
I would intend to vote next meeting as well.
Okay, so could we table Bill's motion? Can we have a motion to table the motion?
So I'll offer a motion to continue, table the current motion and continue this hearing, excuse me, continue this discussion until the next meeting in February.
Okay, a second on Bill's new motion,
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Brad. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, so we'll come back at the next meeting. I don't have the date for that. Fran, do you know? It's the second Wednesday anyway, the next meeting.
February 10th.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll come back with ideas, and if you have ideas ahead of time, certainly we can give those to Fran or.
Yeah, I'm planning on reaching out to our neighborhood planner and our design planner. They are constantly working on these types of projects, so I will get their thoughts and let you know.
Okay, good
You-
idea.
Fran, in addition, you may want to even do a crosswalk with the City of Lowell's open space plan.
Good idea. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so let's see, I don't think there's any more motions to be taken on this tonight. Did we vote? Did we vote on?
We did not vote on the motion to
Okay,
continue.
so Could I have a vote on that latest motion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes, and thank you, National Grid team, for a long night again, and we hope the next meeting will be the resolution of all of our questions on this particular project.
As do we. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Stephen.
What's that?
Oh, thank you, everyone who's chatting too. It's just one
Oh, okay.
little side check going on.
Okay.
Agreed,
All right, we have one more item on our agenda tonight, and that's a request for a certificate of compliance. DEP file number 2060767. The location is 42 Wellman Street. This project began in, I believe, 2017. And, oh, we do have a little chat going on here. This is a residential building, 6-story building with a parking garage, and I know Bill was around in 2017, maybe Kevin. It was quite a bleak site, and I think they've done wonders with a bleak site, and it looks very spruce and very well cared for, and I particularly love the dog park. So is this Colin? Is this someone for this project? Or
Yeah, this is Roy Smith.
okay, there you are. Can you tell us about your project? Summarize.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, good evening. My name's Roy Smith. I work for RJ O'Connell and Associates. I am representing the SMC Management Corporation. With me tonight on this Zoom meeting is also Robert Simmons. He's the owner's rep, just in case we need to ask him any questions. But what I'll do is we filed the notice of intent back in 2017. We received our order of conditions in actually January of 2017. We came back to the commission in 2019 for a minor amendment to add a dog park to the facility back and make it usable open space. I see some of the familiar faces that were around when we made that minor amendment request. And then we came back later in 2019 to get an order of conditions extension in which we extended the order of conditions until 2023. We have since completed construction of the project. As Luis was saying, if I can share my screen, let me try and. for a sec. So I don't know if everybody sees that.
Yep.
So what I'm calling up here is the as-built survey plan of the site. If you're familiar with the area, this to the northwest corner is the existing Lowe's facility. The project is located along Wellman Street. It's called 42 Wellman Street, for instance. And what you see here is a dashed line, which is basically a wraparound apartment building with the associated parking garage in the front. I don't know if you can follow my mouse. As you were mentioning, the existing site was completely paved before our arrival to the property, and the stormwater management, there was no mitigation, no treatment, no detention. The wetlands buffer zone was degraded and just degraded over time. There was trash in the wetlands and so forth and so on. So we came through, got our order of conditions to build the project, and what you see here to plan east is the dog park that Louise was mentioning about. In our original order of conditions, I'll zoom in a little bit on the plan. Did the commission members see that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So as part of our original notice of intent, we did have this stone dust walkway going back to the open space area in the back of the facility, or Plan East. When we started construction, we noticed that stone dust pathway and benches was really leading into scrub brush, vines, invasive species, and it was like a stone dust path to kind of just, you couldn't even walk through there. It was that bad. So what we did is we came back to the commission when we did the dog park amendment, and we took out all the invasive species, and I've attached some color photos showing the dog park. And it sounds like some of the members may have walked the site already. One important thing to note is the existing site was paved, as I already mentioned, but this kind of cross-hatched area that loops around to the south, Plan South, into the Plan East, and then is like a hammerhead at the top, that is actually porous pavers. And what we did there is we could have just used regular pavement for that. But in this purpose, I think it was a perfect application to apply porous pavers in this application. The reason being is this is an emergency access fire lane only. So it's not used by your common apartment users or vehicles, passenger vehicles. There's a gate at the end of it that only allows emergency vehicles to access this porous pavement. And as if you're familiar with porous pavement, it's a good LID technique, low impact development technique, which stores pavement. It has a reservoir and infiltrates into the groundwater. It's a good treatment measure. And that allowed us to significantly increase open space on the property, and between our stormwater management, underneath this porous pavement, we installed a subsurface infiltration system, which took the roof drainage and infiltrated the roof drainage as well. So it's a significant improvement over existing conditions, both from a stormwater management perspective, flow, water quality, open space, landscaping, and we're in front of the commission tonight to request a certificate of compliance with that order of conditions. If you want, I can call up some of the photos. So this is Plan South. What you see here on the left side of these photos is the actual fire lane. That's the porous pavement fire lane. And then you see the side slopes already have established ground cover. And then I'll flip to the next section.
Mr. Smith, you might have just the window selected on your presentation options. So I think we're still seeing the plan.
Oh, are you still? Okay, sorry.
No problem. I want to let you know.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. It happens.
I still haven't figured out how to fix it other than stopping my sharing and then starting again with the right thing.
Oh,
There
yeah?
you go. You did it better than me. Nice work.
Is it, are you on the photos now?
Yeah, we got him.
Okay, I'm kind of old school, so bear with me.
No, you did a great job.
So what you see here, I'll go back to the previous photos that you didn't see. So this is the south side of the apartment building, and this is the porous pavement fire lane that you see here, and then you can see the established ground cover for the side slopes. Then we go to the east side of the apartment building, and you'll see that porous pavement continue along that side of the building as well, with the established cover on the side slopes. And then what you'll see is some pictures of the stone dust walkway and pictures of the dog park. This is where we came back in and asked the commission for a minor amendment. And believe me, when we started building this stone dust walkway, we were like, wow, we can't really leave all this invasive species, the vines, you couldn't even walk through it. It was so bad. Our landscape contractor and landscape architect did a pretty good job removing those invasive species, trying to keep any mature trees that would survive through the construction. They loomed and hydroseeded it, and as you can see here, this is the end result of the dog park area. And
Looks good.
That pretty much wraps up my presentation. I do also have a drone video of the overall project. I don't know if the commission members would like to see that or not, but I'd be happy to share that as well if I can do that technology. But I'd open it up to any questions or comments the commission members may have.
It looks good to me. How long is the drone video? I'm kind of interested. Maybe we should.
I think it's only a couple minutes, so I don't think it's.
Yeah, we can flip through it real quick. Why not?
If you don't mind, can you send it to us in an email, a link to it? I would love to see it, but I don't know that this is the right place for it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's just my interest.
It's just kind of.
I definitely want to see it.
But the pictures do look really nice. You guys did.
Yeah, comparing to what I feel like, if I remember what this used to, I live in this neighborhood, and what this area used to look like compared to what it looks like now, definite improvement in a total for the whole project. So, and especially that dog park looks great.
Yeah, these photos are fantastic.
Yeah, as a member of the fire department, I've been through that area quite a few times now, and looks great. Looks just like what you guys said you were gonna do. So, yeah, congratulations on getting the project done.
Yeah, it's been a long road, 2017. So, yeah.
Nice.
Am I hearing
Yeah.
someone willing to offer a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
Trying to do the chairwoman's job.
Everyone likes the project, so somebody should be willing to make a motion here.
There we go.
Hey, Kevin, how about you? Well, you and Perry.
Yeah, it's a big fire department project.
And Perry's in the neighborhood, so.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to offer a certificate of compliance.
Okay, motion made, seconded by, where are you, Perry?
I'll second it.
You disappeared. Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you. Have a good night.
congratulations on a great improvement to this area.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so the only other business I see here are the minutes from December 9th and January 13th. December 9th, I think, is all edited and finished up, and we almost approved it last time. January 13th, can we make one motion if we have an issue with, yes, Bill?
I about 15 minutes before the call, I sent out the minutes to all of you with some minor edits. I mean, Christine did a great job. I did have a few tweaks, so I suggest if you haven't had a chance to look at them, let's table those January 13th minutes until the next meeting. But hopefully you had a chance to look at the edits on the December 9th ones and you're comfortable with them, and we can vote to approve those.
Is that a motion? Accept.
I will offer a
Kevin.
motion accept the minutes for the December 9th meeting.
Seconded
I'll
by
second that motion.
Second by Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Unless there's any other news, Fran, I think we can have a motion for adjournment.
I just wanted to clarify something regarding the proposed environmental project. So we can definitely work with the city and look in the open space plan to come up with some ideas for that project. Did you want us to send that directly to the applicant, to National Grid, or did you want us to run it by you guys first before the next meeting? I'm just wondering how you'd want to do that.
My thought, Fran, is, I mean, I'm hoping that we kind of can collaborate over the next 2 weeks back and forth. I think the challenge is that trying to land on an appropriate scale and scope for a supplemental environmental project in the city of Lowell. And I'm not sure we know what that is. Certainly $100,000 in scale and scope seems excessive. You know, I don't know what the delta is. Is it 25 to 50,000, 15 to 30? You know,
Bigger, bigger than 100.
Maybe if you get any ideas, we could contact through email and have us all be in the loop.
Sure. Yep. We'll do that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a couple thoughts from the city about this. And then, just basically, I would love to just, take a look at what they have to say and then bless it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel with the city's plan, and certainly they have a much better idea about what it is that, timing will work out good with, next year's work. And I just want to see what they have to say, and just have one opportunity to jump in if for an unimaginable reason that I'm not happy with what they propose, which
I mean, frankly, I feel like we've all been, while there's differences in opinion, whether it's between us or the community, I feel like everyone's been acting in good faith. So I, for one, would like to use the next 2 weeks to kind of coalesce around a couple of ideas so that we can have a focused discussion at the next meeting and vote on it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think I'd like to emphasize the environmental part of it too, rather than, something that might not be so environmentally friendly to the birds and the bees and the fish.
Yeah, I think some additional, landscaping, basically. I'm looking for a landscaping plan to be greatly enhanced through the the benefit of this project.
I like the way you characterized it, Louise. We're not looking for play swing sets and jungle gyms and things like that, but things that really benefit the environment.
Okay.
We've got plenty of
Yes.
We've got plenty of money coming up for open space.
Yes, we do. Yep.
Maybe someday when that starts.
Yes.
And if you hear anything, I want to know. I'm curious. I know I keep asking you, but I want to. I'm ready.
It is all, I see emails. Everything is in the works, but everything is also just so crazy right now. So I
get it. I'm talking about the Community Preservation Committee that you guys signed me up for, just so you know.
Yeah, how's that going, Brad?
It hasn't started. I have no idea. We know who's on it. That's about it.
Right.
I love your energy, Brad. I'm
ready,
old,
baby.
No, it's so good. Yeah, I'm glad that you're.
Gather your ideas that you're going to give them and tell us.
You don't want to hear them.
So we got a point to offer a motion to adjourn, or is there anything else, Fran?
That's it. Actually, we have another new staff member starting on Monday. So
very good.
That will be the Community Preservation Committee staff person, in addition to helping with project review for the other 3 land use boards. So we're very excited to have 3 staff again.
Yay.
And all we need is one more commission member. So
I know, right?
Commission, right?
I know.
If anyone's listening and would like to join our commission, put an application in.
Exactly.
Oh,
All righty. I'll offer a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
second.
Seconded by, I think we already did this once. Kevin, did you second that?
No,
Brett
that
seconded
was
it.
last. That was
Okay,
minutes.
all those in favor? We are adjourned.
Hey, have a great night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
work, everybody. Thanks
Good
again, Bill.
night.
Good night.